Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to get into a variety of topics, but you all love when we talk about this $7,500 federal tax credit. So we'll go through a quick topic on how it actually works. I'll give you the website so you can calculate it for yourself to see if you can take advantage of the full $7,500 federal tax credit. And of course, my thoughts on it, and also what changes with that tax credit next year. There's a couple different things you have to be aware about, especially if you're buying a Model 3 or Model Y. So we're going to get into that plus a variety of topics. But before we do that, let's roll that intro real quick. All right, so thanks for watching another stream. Thanks for watching another video. My name is Dennis, and I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on Tesla at the best financing rate. So definitely hit that subscribe if you're interested. And today's video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link down below in the description, but more on that later. All right, so let us take a look at this, right? If you've been looking for shopping for a Model 3 or Model Y, you know that there's this huge, big bubble on the screen, this big box that says there is a $7,500 federal tax credit. And before we go through the sites and I give you all the different tools on where you can calculate it for yourself, I do have to do a little bit of a disclaimer. I am not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, but I have taken advantage of this $7,500 federal tax credit multiple times, and I do my own taxes or our taxes with TurboTax, and it's quickly just a quick entry of the button on the TurboTax software, and you can see that nice big refunded added extra refund with that. So anyways, buying a Model 3 or Model Y right now, if you take delivery this year, you can take advantage of the full $7,500 federal tax credit. And so the quick TLDR on this is that you don't get the tax credit discount at point of sale. This is something that you file for next year when you do your taxes in January through, of course, April, and you get an added extra refund on top of whatever refund that you're supposed to get to, or if it's going to offset what if you owe money to the federal government. And so we'll talk about the different income thresholds and also what changes with this tax credit next year. But this is a really good website to give you some sort of idea of whether you're going to be able to qualify for the full $7,500 or not. And the reason why I say full is because depending on your income, depending on your situation, you might not qualify for that full $7,500 back. So you can see I've got an example on the screen right here. We've got W-2 income, single person that gets a tax credit, or it's a person that gets a paycheck from some sort of employer. It's a whole different story if you're your own business, because then it's depending on how much profit you claim as an individual, or even sole prop, or even 1099 contract or something like that. It's basically how much taxes you pay, you can get some of that back. But we're going to focus on W-2 single individuals because that's really the most easiest. If you can see, I put in an income of $75,000 for the federal government income, single status, and you can see in the federal government line item for the total tax that this person hypothetically would pay, you can see it says that this person in total pays $9,381. This is of course before any sort of other deductions, but this is using the standard deduction for the 2022 year. So this person would most likely qualify for that full $7,500 back, because how it works is you only get back what you have paid. So if you're someone that only makes $50,000 as a single income earner, you can see that bucket goes down to $4,241. So in theory, this person would only get $4,241 back. They wouldn't get anything extra back that they weren't already supposed to pay to the federal government. So hopefully that clears it up for you. It makes a lot of sense. You can see if we put in higher income limits like $125,000, then the federal tax bucket goes up to $20,000. And so the question here is that I know a lot of people are wondering, like, can you buy multiple electric vehicles, multiple electric Teslas, and claim more of that tax credit? And I would say I'm still not a CPA, but I've also done that. I have met multiple friends that do that. You can essentially do that all the way up to your tax liability. Like again, before, you're not going to get any much more back. You're not going to get more back than what you're supposed to be paying on top of that. Of course, there's other deductions that you could be taking, like 401k, HSA, whatever, or FSA or anything like that. So just be aware of that. So the best thing really is to talk to a CPA if you're going to be buying multiple vehicles like that, to try and understand your situation, because that could be a 7,500 error times 2 or 3 if you're buying multiple vehicles, but that could be the case at the end of the day. You can see there's really weird thresholds where if you make like $65,000, you get close to this 7,500. So it's kind of like diminishing returns as you make less and less, down to 50 or even $40,000. But at the end of the day, you're really not supposed to be buying a car more than your income. There's a rule there, 1-to-1. So if you make $70,000, you really shouldn't be buying a $7,000 car. But if you ask people like Dave Ramsey and things like that, but you will most likely get approved for it if you make 1-to-1 the income to the vehicle. And if you're using that vehicle to generate even more income through Turo or Uber or even DoorDash or things like that, then it could make some sense at the end of the day. Of course, this is all separate from the state incentives that are out there. And we're going to talk briefly about that as well. But the state incentives are a little bit easier. Most of them just give you a check in hand. Like, for instance, the CVRP program that I know a lot of you are interested about this program. Like, this is literally a check in hand within 90 to 120 days after you take delivery and after you place an application on the website, so that you can easily get that check in the mail. But now we're going to talk about what changes with this program, right? There's a lot of things that change every single year through this 7,500 federal tax credit. The first thing we got to be aware about is there are income limits. So if you're single, you cannot make more than $150,000. If you're married, $300,000. But a quick hack with this, if you didn't know, we made a video about this a long time ago, but a quick hack with this is that this is modified adjusted gross income. So you can use tools like 401k contribution, HSA contribution to lower your modified gross income below the income cap thresholds. And on top of that, they look at this year or last year's income, whichever one is lowest. If you take delivery this year, if you want to try and finagle that and work with it within that range. And of course, you are probably aware about the MSRP caps on the vehicle as well, but both the Model 3 and Model Y in all trims in form of qualify for the tax credit. So you don't really have to worry about that. But what does change every single year, including next year, is the first thing is that the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, is trying to force manufacturers and dealerships, or I don't know how they're actually going to do it. They're going to make this discount point of sale. So in theory, when you go buy the vehicle, when you go to the Tesla website, and if you qualify as an individual, and of course, if you use a Tesla referral code, just like the one down below in the description, before you place the order and get an extra $500 to $1,000 off, you should be able to see a line item discount here that says minus 7,500. I don't know how that's going to be. They're going to be able to do that because basically Tesla will probably have to take in some, like, your tax returns or something to be able to make sure you qualify, or maybe there'll be some sort of chargeback if you don't qualify. It's going to be an interesting time, that is for sure. But the other thing with that is that with this tax credit, and that's why the website, if you go to Tesla Model 3 right now, it does say that the reductions to the tax credit are likely after December 31st. And that's because, well, that could be just a sales ploy, but that's because here's the chart on the screen in which every single year, starting in 2024, 2025, you can see that the minimum percentage of battery components produced or manufactured in North America goes up by 10%. So basically, it gets more stricter that the vehicle has to have those thresholds, or else it could lose a portion of the tax credit, because right now it is 7,500, but if it doesn't qualify for this minimum percentage, it could lose half of it, half of 37,500 down to 3,750, and the tax credit could potentially be only 3,750 if you buy a Model 3 or maybe even Model Y. You can see the other half, minimum percentage of critical battery minerals extracted, processed, and recycled in nations with free trade agreements. You can see it goes up to 50%. So that's kind of a little bit of an unknown, but Tesla has been able to finagle it this year into getting their vehicles to qualify for the 7,500 federal tax credit. So really, I don't have any loss of faith, and I really feel like Tesla is going to figure out a will or a way to get their vehicles to qualify for the full $7,500 federal tax credit. But hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully that clears it up for a lot of you out there that are buying a Tesla vehicle and are wondering, do you even qualify for that full $7,500 federal tax credit? We're going to jump into the next topic, but before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. If you're looking for some one-on-one support about getting the best deal on a Tesla at the best financing rate and of course the best deal, that's where you can do that at my Patreon app down below in the description. You can ask me questions one-on-one, send me chat messages, and or even schedule a call with me where we can go over your exact situation on how to get the best deal on a Tesla at the best financing rate. Of course, after you join the Patreon, you get a link to my buying guide, which is the ultimate Tesla buying guide out there with all the best interest rates for financing your Tesla, all lower than Tesla financing that most people can qualify for. Well, actually, the one rate that I'm talking about, everyone qualifies for. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Patreon link down below in the description. Thank you to all my Patreon members and all the supporters out there for sure. Water break.